Hello Guardians, it's time to return to the dark side with this insane Strand Hunter build. You'll be dropping bombs while severing and suspending all enemies in your path. Regardless of the season, this build will have teammates jumping in your bag as you carry them to victory. With the upcoming buff to Threadlings, this will only become more powerful and is the new Hunter Strand meta. But first, while you're here, we're pushing for 500 subs right here on YouTube as we travel that road to monetization. Please smash that sub button, hit that thumbs up like, and ring that notification bell to stay notified of any future build or when I go live. Don't forget to let me know what you think of this build in the comments, what you would change, or what builds you want to see next. I do respond to all comments. And speaking of going live, I do stream 3 to 5 days a week on all major streaming platforms, whether it be Twitch, Kick, or YouTube. Swing on by the platform of your choice and let's run some content together. I always play with viewers and I play all kind of content. Now, let's get into this build. This build takes advantage of the newest aspect for the Hunter, Threaded Specter. Activating your class ability leaves behind a decoy woven from Strand that draws the attention of nearby combatants. After taking significant damage or when combatants approach, the decoy detonates, dealing damage and releasing threadlings that seek out and attack nearby foes. Now what this does is basically you dodge, you'll leave a little decoy out, the enemies will all gather towards the decoy. It reminds me of like the little monkey from Call of Duty Zombies. Everybody come to it. Once they destroy it, it'll end up shooting out threadlings everywhere there, killing everything around it. Our build is gonna kind of take advantage of that a little bit more and add a little sever effect to it, but it's gonna make it really, really dope. Now, I know a lot of people aren't necessarily a big fan of this aspect yet, but you have to figure in unique ways to work it. I think with the upcoming buff to threadlings, it's gonna make this even better. But as is, it's absolutely phenomenal. You'll be suspending everybody, just be destroying things left and right. And that explosion and the threadlings that the decoy sends out actually does a pretty good, decent amount of damage. And it's just really fun. That's the biggest thing right now, is fun. And this is going to be a build that not only makes it to where it's super fun to play as, but you're just going to destroy everything in your path. All right, while we're here, let's talk about the other aspect that we're using, Widow Silk. You have an additional grenade charge. Your grappling hook creates a grapple tangle at the grapple point. We're not going to be using our grapple, so the extra grenade charge is really good because we will be using our shackle grenade and we'll be able to suspend and shackle more enemies. So having that extra grenade is always, always, always good. All right, let's get into the abilities with this build. We use marksman dodge, so when you dodge, you automatically reload your weapons. I just really enjoy this build a lot. It just keeps the DPS going with a simple dodge, but also helps you get out of danger's way. Triple jump, to me, it's the best jump for the Hunter. It's the only jump to use for Hunter. I know people use different things, but that's the one that I prefer. We'll also be using Threaded Spike, throwing a rope dart that bounces between targets, damaging and severing. The dart will return to you once it's done, returning melee energy to you for each target hit. Press, in my case C, just as the dart gets back to you to catch it and increase the amount of energy returned. Fun fact, you don't have to press it right before that. You can just hold the button while you're waiting for it to come back and you'll automatically catch it. And let's explain Sever real quick. What it does, it targets connections to the world around them are cut and their outgoing damage is significantly reduced. Severed targets unwind into a tangle when defeated. So basically you'll be keeping them from damaging as much, you'll be taking less damage from opponents when you sever them. And then we'll be getting that severing effect as well from our little decoy that we end up shooting on. I'll show you all that later in the video. So you're going to be able to reduce damage and at the same time turn them into a tangle afterwards, which just keeps the cycle going. And for the last ability, we'll be using this shackle grenade, a thrown weapon of weighted strand matter that detonates on impact, suspending targets and creating additional suspending projectiles. And don't forget, we'll have 2 of these grenades, so we'll be able to shackle enemies twice. And I think it does about 3 shackles per grenade. I could be wrong. And what suspension does, obviously the target is immobilized by a web of strand matter, lifting them in the air. While suspended, guardians are unable to move freely. Combatants are unable to move or fire their weapons. Unstoppable champions are stunned. Suspended targets unwind into a tangle when defeated. So again, you'll get another tangle to throw to continue the cycle. But it's really big for in-game content. You'll be able to stun those unstoppable champions. And it just makes it easy. You'll just suspend everything and just gun everything down. Like, suspending things is the most OP thing to do with Strand in this game. And yes, they said they're gonna nerf suspending a little bit and they're gonna buff threadlings, but that's what makes this build so great. So you'll get the suspension ability that also stops the unstoppables, but you're also going to get the threadling ability. So you're gonna be using the best of both worlds, and you'll be doing a lot of damage and just keeping enemies from hurting you, whether it be from severing or from suspending them, and then just put out massive amount of damage. Plus you're debuffing them so your other teammates can do more damage to them. Honestly, this build is just, like I said before, OP. It's the new meta. You'll be carrying off your teammates all the way to the end. All right, let's get into the fragments. First, we're gonna use Thread of Generation. Dealing damage generates grenade energy. Self-explanatory, you do damage, you get grenades back, you'll be able to throw the shackles more, you'll be able to suspend enemies more. What more can I say? Now you do lose 10 discipline by doing this, but you also gain grenade energy with this, so it's kind of a good trade-off. Up next, we have Thread of Warding. Picking up an Orb of Power grants 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕆𝕂, which just takes away from your resilience, but 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕃 is absolutely phenomenal. It just reduces the damage you take in. You can keep proccing 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕃. You can give 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕃 to your teammates. You can do all kinds of things with 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕃. It's just a really amazing strand perk. It just helps you stay alive longer. Up next, we have Thread of Continuity. So suspending, unraveling, and severing effects applied to targets have increased duration. So those suspensions, those guys will be suspended longer. We're gonna create severs. The severs are gonna last longer. All right, just to explain unraveling real quick, the target is permeated with destructive strand matter. As they take additional damage, they create unraveled projectiles that seek out nearby targets. Unraveling rounds from your strand weapons pierce the shields of barrier champions and stun them. Unraveled targets unwind into a tangle when defeated. So another way to create tangles, another way to stop barrier champions besides the artifact. So if you didn't want to use, say, an auto rifle to stop an anti-barrier, your unraveling rounds from a strand weapon will be able to do it as well. Just remember, things don't always stack in Destiny, so you can't do unstoppable and barrier at the same time, or overload and barrier at the same time. Usually there are some outliers, but for the most part, those will not stack. And like I said, Thread of Continuity is really good because it's gonna make those effects last longer. And the longer they last, the more destruction you're causing. And lastly, Thread of Mind. Defeating suspended targets grant class ability energy. So you'll be suspending your enemies, giving you more class ability energy to do that dodge, to leave your little decoy to cause severing. Then when you kill them, you just keep the cycle going. As you can see, it's just very synergistic. All right, let's get into the artifact mods and perks. First, I'm gonna use anti-barrier auto rifle. This way I can stop anti-barriers with my auto rifle. Yes, you can also get them with unraveling rounds and stop them with unraveling rounds. I just like to have either an anti-barrier auto rifle or have a wish ender or something like that that guarantees to stop the anti-barrier, just in case you don't get that barrier down in time. Unstoppable hand cannons and overload scout rifles. Now with these, you can change these up to whichever ones you want. Maybe you want to use a glaive, maybe you want to use a trace rifle, but these are the ones that I use for the build that I use. Up next, the two big mods that you really do need is authorized strand mods and melee mods, because you will be using melee mods, you will be using strand mods, so this way it makes it only cost 1 energy. Up next, Deeper Origins. Greatly improves the benefits provided by Unstated Hunger, Nanotech Tracer Rockets, Harmonic Resonance, and Noble Deeds traits. Well, I have this on, so in case I do end up using that Rufus, or I do end up using the Perpetualis, or I do use any strand weapon that has any of those perks, so the benefit is greater for it. Up next, we have Improved Unraveling. Increases the amount of damage dealt by unraveling a target. As you already see, we're going to be unraveling targets, so now we create more damage with that. And Strand Soldier. Your strand weapons gain unraveling rounds whenever you gain 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕃 while your strand subclass is equipped. So as you saw before, we'll have 𝕃𝕃𝕃𝕃, then we'll have unraveling rounds with all of our strand weapons, and damage ensues. Up next, Overcharged Armory. Weapons with the Unstated Hunger, Nanotech Tracer Rockets, Harmonic Resonance, and Noble Deeds traits are always overcharged weapons when you have that modifier active. And some of the weapons I'll be swapping in and out with this build do use some of these perks, so to me it's just really good to use that as well, because I'm not using any arc or void abilities in the artifact for this build. Up next, we have Counter Charge. Gain a stack of armor charge when you stun a champion. You're going to be doing this in-game content. You're going to be stunning champions all the time. Get yourself some armor charge. Up next, Conductive Cosmic Needle. Targets affected by strand debuffs take increased damage from arc and void abilities. So it's synergistic with your teammates. If they're using arc or void, you'll be debuffing them with your strand. They'll be taking more damage as well. And lastly, Squad Goals. we're going to focus on that middle section right there. Performing a finisher while you have ℂ𝕃𝕃𝕆 grants ℂ𝕃𝕃 to nearby allies when your Strand subclass is equipped. So therefore, you're going to have ℂ𝕃𝕃𝕃, you'll do a finisher, your teammates get ℂ𝕃𝕃𝕃. Boom. More resilience, more defense, more time to just sit there and DPS the enemy. All right, on to the weapons. Now for this build, you can do it a few different ways depending on what content that you are going up against. Me, I like using the Quicksilver Storm a lot. So with the Quicksilver Storm, the intrinsic trait is rocket tracers. Landing multiple hits turns your next shot into a homing micro rocket, which does a lot more damage. And then the other thing, landing multiple rockets loads a grenade. Press reload to switch into grenade launcher mode. So those grenades that you shoot out of your grenade launcher, you get 3 of them. Oh my God, are they powerful. So it makes it even better. And the reason why we're using this, because if you get the catalyst for the Quicksilver Storm, it turns weapon damage into strand. And final blows with grenades from this weapon creates tangles. So use your grenade, you're gonna create tangles with this as well. All right, and next I'm using a scout rifle so that I can stop overload champions. And then I have my commemoration for my heavy weapon. We will be able to stop unstoppables by using suspension. So that way we'll be able to cover all 3 types of champions. Now you can switch this build up pretty much in any way that you want to weapon wise. You could go with the final warning instead if you wanted to keep a exotic as your primary, if you wanted to keep that strand exotic going. Or like you could run something like Rufus here and you know, leave your scout rifle on there if you wanted to change, you know, you're doing a boss, you want to do galley, or you got to do Thunderlord or something of that extent. Or, you know, you want to run your scout rifle that you got in the Guardian games, you can run that so you can still stop your overloads. And then your anti-barrier rounds, you know, you can go over to a secondary auto rifle. It just, you can really switch this up however you want to. I do recommend a strand weapon though, so you can take advantage of the stuff that we use in the artifact. And as you can see, the other synergies of killing things with a strand weapon does as well, causing unraveling, you know, getting unraveling rounds, you know, just getting kills. So at the end of the day, it's really up to you what setup you use, what you put into what slot. But like I said before, I really do prefer using the Quicksilver. That's my go-to strand weapon, if I'm honest. It's just really, really OP. It does so much damage. All right, let's get into the stats that I spec into this build. Always, I try to get 100 resilience with all of my builds. Just helps you stay alive longer. Plus the addition of ℂ𝕃𝕃𝕃 helps you even more. Up next, we do want to try to spec into mobility and discipline. The mobility will allow us to get that dodge back quicker, which also allows us to put our decoy out more. It'll help us get away quicker. It'll help us get a quicker reload. Then we want that discipline up so we can get our grenades back more and more. We already have the 2 shackle grenades, but the more that we can shackle things, the more that we can just do damage, sever targets, kill things, stun champions, get in, get out, and do it quite easily. So those are the 3 that I would spec towards. You get the mobility up to 40 or 50, you're good. You get the discipline up to 70, 80, you're good. Yes, remember you do take a dock from discipline and resilience with initially making this build with the fragments that we use, but you want to make sure you get that resilience. All right, on to the exotic piece of armor that this entire build is built around. I know you'll see a lot of people doing radiant dance machines, maybe 6 coyote, so where they get an extra dodge. We're going to be using the Bombardiers. And with Bombardiers, the armor perk is Parting Gift. Dodging leaves behind an explosive that detonates after a short delay, damaging targets around it and creating a secondary effect based on your subclass energy type. So for us, it's going to sever targets. And you'd be like, hey Sim, why are you dropping a bomb and you're leaving a decoy? This is why. You're going to dodge, you're going to leave that decoy, then you're going to drop a bomb on top of it, and it's going to make that decoy very low health. So as soon as those enemies come over and touch it, it's going to explode. You're going to end up not only doing the bomb damage, but you're going to do the damage from the threadlings that go out as well. And you're going to sever your targets, so they're not going to be able to hurt you as much. It's just really synergistic. I didn't think that it would be, but it really, really is. Those bombs that the Bombardier drops does a decent amount of damage. The threadlings do a decent amount of damage. Plus you're getting that severing effect too. It's just debuffing enemies. It's hurting enemies a lot. I really, really like the Bombardiers and how they synergize with Strand. I didn't think that they would, but then I started playing with it and it was absolutely phenomenal. It was so much fun dodging, dropping a decoy, and then dropping those bombs, and just watch everything explode and turn into tangles. It was fun. And since we're here, we'll get started with the leg mods. And like I always say with your general armor mods, use whatever you need to use to spec into resilience, discipline, or mobility, and then try to work your build around it. You might have to change a mod here or there, but overall, these are the mods that I do shoot for. So first, we have Innervation, reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. We'll be creating orbs of power, we'll be getting our grenades back quicker, throw more shackle grenades. Recuperation replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. So, if we pick up an orb of power, we'll get our health back as well. And lastly, Absolution, which reduces all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb of power. So reducing all cooldowns, you'll be reducing your grenade cooldown, and then you'll also be getting your health back on the orb pickup. On to the helmet mods. We're going to be using hands-on, gain bonus super energy on melee kill. We'll be using Dynamo, which reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets. We're going to be dodging and dropping bombs. We're going to be near targets, so we're going to get our super cooldown even quicker between that and hands-on. And then lastly, Harmonic Siphon, rapid strand weapon, final blows create orbs of power. So we will be using strand weapon, we'll be creating orbs of power, which will be getting all of our abilities back quicker. Up next, we have the gauntlet mods. Now, as of the time of this recording, the mod that I would really use for this build, which I don't have it in slot right now, is disabled because people were causing infinite supers. So Impact Induction would actually be the mod that I would use here instead of double heavy-handed. But for right now, Impact Induction is not able to be used. So in the future, if Impact Induction is available at the time of you watching this, make sure you put Impact Induction in that first slot. But for now, we're going to be using heavy-handed twice, which your powered melee final blows create an orb of power. So using multiple copies does make that orb a little bit stronger. But ideally, like I said, we want to be using Impact Induction and heavy-handed here. And lastly, Grenade Kickstart. When your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy. So this allows us to get our shackle grenades back, to throw them more, and just get our abilities back. All right, as for the chest piece, and as I always say with the chest pieces, with your defense mods, change them to whatever you need at the time of the activity you're going in. You're going against arc, use arc. You're going to up close and personal, do melee damage resistance, do concussive dampener resistance. You're going against solar, use solar resistance. I really like concussive dampener because it reduces incoming area of effect damage from combatants, but really you can choose whatever you want in that instance. I would normally do like a harmonic resistance, but we can't with strand because there is no incoming strand damage. And lastly, for the cloak, we're going to be using Reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. Reaper is one of the best mods out there. You use your dodge, your next final blow creates an orb of power, then you reduce all your cooldowns when you pick it up. Up next, Bomber. Reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability, so you'll get that shackle grenade back quicker because you're dodging and dropping bombs already. And lastly, one of my favorite mods that they added this season, Powerful Attraction, automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So we'll be dodging a lot, we'll be dropping those bombs, so we'll be grabbing those orbs as we do it. So we'll be getting all those cooldowns quicker and quicker and quicker. And there we go, guys. That is the new Strand Hunter meta. This build was so much fun to make, was an absolute banger to play with, and will have you breezing through all in-game content. The dim loadout link will be in the description below, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click that thumbs up like, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of this build or which build you'd like to see next. In the meantime, check out one of these other insane build videos on the screen right now. And until next time, it's your boy Old Man Sim out. Peace. Oh, he just fucking made me do a fuck. That's how I dance in real life, bro. Just like that.